TPR.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 116 of the TPR pod. Today's episode is with Zarak Yusufzai. Zarak is a coffee connoisseur, our very own Pakistani coffee guy. I'm sure there's others, he's the only one I know. The episode is a bit of an unusual one. It's just an interview with Zarak about, who he is, what he does, how he got into coffee, that sort of stuff. It's unusual because it was recorded live. We were supposed to do this big trip where we go to Dubai and then Pakistan and then do a lot of stuff in Pakistan. The Pakistan bit never happened because of the flight cancellation bullshit that was going on this past month. But we did go to Dubai for a little bit and we met Zarak there. That's this week's episode. And we met the Change of Pace Boys, which is next week's episode. Both these episodes are recorded live. Another unusual thing with this week's episode, a disclaimer, is that it's a bit noisy because it was recorded in a cafe where they have coffee and they have coffee machines and they have other customers. So bear with us through the noise. I think it adds like some relevant vibes. And then we also got shut down because they were like, "Acha bas bahut ho gaya. Now, get this recording shit done with." So we recorded an additional sort of like a pickup with Zarak on the usual Zoom way for a few things that he wanted to add on to the episode that we couldn't cover in the live recording. So that's it for this episode's description. Just before we jump in, we do have a shout out. This shout out is sent to us by somebody named Sarawish. I'm assuming Sarawish is a girl's name, but if it's not, but this is by Sarawish, who is working with or associated with this organization. Usually we would not do a shout out for an organization, but this is something we sort of appreciate the value of more as like a public service. So this is a very unique thing. It's called the Concierge by Muhafiz. And as per Sarawish, it's a premium service for elderly care, particularly for parents who live alone in Pakistan and have children settled overseas. You see why it resonates. From full-fledged life-threatening emergencies to the most mundane of household chores, errands, and maintenance, concierge membership means every problem is solved by one source, that too from the comfort of one's own home. Our service packages range from emergency, healthcare, domestic, to outdoors, and start from as low as $30. I don't know if this is per month, per week. Once someone signs up with us, it's really as if having a family member look after your elderly relatives. Their website is humanitech.org. That is humanetek.org. It's cool. It's like if you live abroad, your parents are back home, there's no one to take care of them, you're stressed with COVID, etc. Travel is hard. These people apparently help out for a fee, obviously. But it seems like a cool idea. Yeah, that's a shout out. Send in your shout outs. Like I mentioned, videos. If you send in videos, individuals only. You could send in a video like Zarak has sent in the past, like other people have. We'll toss that video in. If you want a shout out like this, check the highlight on our Instagram for what you need to do to get in. And yeah, we'll read it out and tag you in our stories, and hopefully that publicity gets to you and you get to do what you like. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on with this week's episode. Like I mentioned, Zarak Yusufzai. Remember, noisy environment, pick up at the end, coffee. This is the most chaotic podcast I've done ever. But yeah, again, what we'll do is, I'll say this in the intro as well, but we picked the noisiest place we could find.
I'm so sorry.
Our lack of substance can be covered by the show. But yeah, bro. Khair, thank you for coming.
Of course, thank you so much.
TPR Pod Global Edition. Before this episode comes out, I don't know what the order is, but when in the Arib episode I said that I would do a lot of stuff in Pakistan, none of that is happening because the flight got cancelled. So we're only doing Dubai stuff, and part of Dubai stuff is Zarak. who is in Dubai. Zarak,
Yes.
do you have an introduction that you've prepared for these situations?
Oh no, I should. My name is Zarak and I'm in Dubai.
Yeah, that's it. That's as far as we go. So how do we see?
Yeah.
चलो 10-20 हो रहे हैं.
Okay.
ठीक है.
Say.
2 बजे तक बात करेंगे.
Oh, done it,
Longest
man.
conversation. Yeah.
I'm not that interesting as a person, but I'll make shit up.
So we're in a coffee shop, which is a thematic choice because Zarak likes coffee a lot, and also when they start the abhi to nahi ho raha, but hopefully when they start the espresso machine or the grinder, और भी शोर होगा.
You're welcome for that.
So yeah, if you see some cuts, that's what's happening. But bro, describe your
Yeah.
coffee situation.
Okay. I think right now where I stand is, if you want to put me, I think I would otherwise fit in the category of like content maker
Okay.
for coffee, because that is starting to become a category of itself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a few, like 3 years back, 4 years back. So more so I'd say I'm an enthusiast who's trying to transition into the industry
Okay.
and start to, you know,
Achha, so
make it a
you're,
commercial.
like consciously looking to be like a coffee content creator kind of person.
And more so on the, and not on the content side of things. Like I would love to keep doing the content, but more than that, have my own fully functioning coffee company.
Okay.
That does consulting
Yeah.
and a few other things in the coffee
It's
industry.
amazing ko na maro because hamaरा mic. I don't know how this mic works. Again,
Yeah,
this is
that's-
all the first time for everything. This is the second time in my life that this mic is being used. The first time it was used by someone else. So I don't know.
That's a
if
good
it's-
idea. Yeah. I'm glad you.
I think
pointed
it
that
has a
out.
shock mount, but we can never be sure.
Exactly.
Acha.
Yeah.
So how does this start? Like your coffee interest, which is more than other people's.
It is a bit
interest.
weird. It does get a bit
Yeah.
borderline.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. So I think, like, way about it, like while growing up, everybody I think drinks coffee if they're in Pakistan in the winters. It's like a winter fad.
Yeah.
Like you need to drink it, otherwise you die of hypothermia or some shit. So I would have Nescafe and stuff when I was 11, 12. Which is not a healthy age to have Nescafe
Okay.
or
Yeah,
any
that's
sort of
very
coffee.
young. Yeah.
So there was already just general consumption of coffee since a young age, and then when I think also when you move abroad and you start seeing like Starbucks and stuff, you just generally get fascinated. There's a certain aesthetic of sitting in a coffee shop getting your work done. So that just that allure kind of took me in, but also then I was fascinated with like, oh, why do these weird coffees taste different? Why is this one different, so radically different from that one? So it was just like down that rabbit hole.
How long ago are we
So
estimating?
2014.
It's been a while.
2013, yeah.
Acha.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then like there's been different steps that like progress me towards like where I am now, definitely. So like we were speaking earlier that I studied in Miami.
Yes.
So while I was there, I
off
was-
the record.
So while I was studying there, I was working on a on-campus coffee kiosk, which was
Okay.
a specialty coffee kiosk. It was very, very different from anything I've ever seen. So I worked there for two years, and one of those years was as a manager as well.
Okay.
So it was interesting. So that experience really did like just catapult me into
Right.
whatever I am.
So
now.
what are now you're like a coffee enthusiast, like you mentioned. What are the main things that a coffee enthusiast or like a regular person, for example, like me, who would know कि अच्छा बस Starbucks type पता है या Costa type पता है.
Right.
What are some of the main things that differentiate your level of knowledge from like the chalta pita person?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things, right? There's coffee. I was gonna say coffee breeds, but that's not true. That's
It's
not the
close.
right
It's
word.
close.
Yeah.
You're not
What is
wrong.
it?
Varietals,
Varieties,
or
yeah. Or
species.
brewing techniques or
Yes,
yevo.
yes.
So what are like some of the basic things people should get into?
Okay. I think one thing that is used as a marketing stunt, but also is sort of a good indicator of like good coffee, is whether if it's Arabica or Robusta.
Right.
So you know how McDonald's even says like, oh, our coffee is 100% Arabica.
Yeah.
So Arabica is just like, yeah.
Is phone buzz raha hai? I don't know what's happening. We're also here. There's other people in this cafe. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Arabica, I think that's like the most general thing that you can kind of understand if like the coffee is going to be good or not. Secondly, you would want to see how transparent a coffee shop is
Okay.
about the coffee that they're using.
Okay.
If they're telling you that they're telling you the origin, whether if it's an origin or a blend of origins,
Right.
I think that's a good indicator that like, okay, they know what they're doing,
Achha.
and you're probably gonna get good coffee. So transparency is another thing, and the third is, I think that's from a like cafe perspective. You're
Yeah.
going out to make coffee, to get coffee, but at home I'd say look for a local roaster, because more likely than not a local roaster is going to be a specialty roaster.
Right.
So a specialty roaster is number one, transparent about where they're getting their product from, and that translates to quality, because once you know where it's coming from, you can trace the quality as well.
Okay.
So that's a big indicator.
Okay.
A lot of roasters put like a cupping score for their coffee.
What's
so
that?
that's a grade
Okay.
of the coffee. So it's out of 100. 100 is impossible. Yeah, the 90s.
So what do they look at?
They're looking at a whole lot of different things. Like you have to go through a whole course first of all to be like a person who grades these coffees. It's called a Q grader. They're looking at aromatics, how the acidity, the body. There's so many different things that kind of determine whether if it's a quality coffee or not.
And a higher number means what?
So a higher number means it's a objectively good coffee, I guess.
Okay.
But then again, it does become very subjective as
Yeah,
well.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, taste is extremely subjective. That's why they have to go through like training and courses to like calibrate their palate to certain fruits and stuff.
Right.
And different scents.
Tasting notes jo aate hain.
Exactly.
Yeah, where I've been trying a few coffees for the past few days here in Dubai. कुछ नहीं पता मुझे. I'm like, it tastes like coffee. Some of them I know are
All right, I'm out.
This is fruity. This is not. And but बाकी like Basma is like, इसमें apricot aa raha hai. I'm like, what?
Oh, lemonious.
I was like, what the fuck is happening here? इसमें इस वाली में दूध है. But okay.
ये कड़ी है.
But yeah. So how does this? So when you start getting into the idea of coffee, what's the end product for me right now is your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Where you're making coffee content. You did that Coffee Deep Karachi dive.
Yeah.
James Hoffman commented. Is that his name? I got
James
him.
Hoffman, yes,
James Hoffman.
you got it. You got it. He even funded it.
He funded it?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Foreign funding. But so how do you get, from someone working in a university cafe place in Miami to James Hoffman funding your Karachi deep dive into the roast scene? What's that journey?
I think it's been a bunch of accidents as well. Like nothing was very intentional or planned out, as with anything, I think. So once I graduated and I moved back to Karachi,
I think as soon as we start talking again,
thank you, sir. Okay, so
it is a coffee shop. Yeah. So you moved back to Karachi.
So 2019, when I moved back to Karachi, I was kind of already having this weird identity crisis where I wanted to have a career in something, I'm passionate about this, so that's what I want to go into. Like, I want to make money from my passion.
Why are we being so dismissive? But
yeah, I'm sorry. Because this is like such a cliche thing. Like,
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was going through. So I'm like, okay, I'll just start talking about coffee on my Instagram, because I was enjoying it. Like, although like nobody understood what I was saying, but I went along with it. So, and then I ended up going to the UK and stuff for work. I was stationed there, and then I'm like, okay, there's so many coffee shops here that I can just go review, talk to the people there, and it was great. Like I was genuinely like feeling like, okay, I'm learning a lot, so I can post more, I can talk about more things. And then when the pandemic started, I ended up coming back to Dubai. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is pretty recent then.
Yeah. Like being
Yeah.
like going straight into making content like on a regular basis was fairly
Okay.
decent,
And then
I guess.
how does James Hoffman come in the picture?
So
He's the only coffee person I know on YouTube.
he's a mammoth at this point.
He's also like a really
huge.
big deal.
Yeah, it's crazy how he's just transcended into the mainstream almost at this point.
Up to he's big on TikTok. So he's everywhere.
Oh,
He
wow.
has great hair. Yeah. So how does he come in the picture?
So fast forward, I'm into this. I'm trying to make videos on YouTube as well, which I never thought I would do because I'm too self-conscious about
Sure.
how I sound and stuff. So that's going, and then I'm doing regular Instagram content. So James Hoffman puts out a video November 2020, saying that December 2020, saying that he is looking for content creators to diversify, the coffee content marketplace because
Okay.
there's too many white males. There's too many just the stereotypical
Yeah.
third wave coffee guy that you see. So he put that out. He put out a Google Forms. And so he was looking for 5 people, and those 5 people would get funding for whatever idea they pitch, which was about coffee wherever they are geographically. Doesn't matter. You don't even have to be big on YouTube. You just need to have an idea. So I put mine. I said that I see a lot of things happening in Pakistan's coffee community, and I think it's really coming to a level where it's noticeable and it deserves attention. And I pitched the whole idea, and I got out of 450 applicants, I got filtered down to the last 90 or so, and then. So I got an email from his assistant saying that, oh, you've made it to the final 90, congratulations. It's really hard to, really select people because everybody's ideas are just great.
Right.
So it was very tough on their end as well. Fast forward even more. So I got an email saying that, okay, you didn't get into the top 5, but we still want your idea to happen.
Okay.
And we're going to allow 4 more people to get funding, but it won't be the initial funding that the 5 people are getting.
Right,
It'll be
right.
half of that.
Sure.
And the 5 people we're gonna have their video be put on James's channel, and that would get monetized, and all the revenue from that
Goes to
those
them.
people
Okay,
would get.
cool. That's a big thing.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they're like, okay, these other 4 people, we'll just shout you out. So you've put up the video, we've given you the funding, and once you put it up, we will shout it out through James's channels. Socials,
Yeah.
exactly. So I was like, that's fantastic. Like, it's a great opportunity.
But again, December is like abhi ki baat hai.
Oh,
Like
it was
7
very,
months
very,
ago.
very recent, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I ended up finding out that this is happening in January, that I got selected.
That you got selected.
Yeah, exactly,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So in January, I found out, and then this is like the craziest fan moment for me because like James DM'd me saying like, "Hey, what's your email?"
Oh, wow.
So I was like, "Oh my god!"
What number did you
Do I fucking peed my pants? I
Right,
peed
yeah,
my pants. It was this close.
Wow.
It was,
Okay.
yeah. I was like, "ये fake account तो नहीं है ऐसे verification."
James की spelling थोड़ी
James
सी
बोलेगा
गलत है।
ये मेरा पेपर है मुझे पैसे भेजना फिर मैं
मेरे बैंक अकाउंट में पैसे फंस गए हैं. I just need a few thousand.
वही अस्मा का रिचार्ज का आता है ना मैसेज. Anyways, so
But it was him.
it was him, yeah,
Right.
100%. I can confirm. So he said that, and then it's like, okay, shit, this is getting serious. Like, I'm actually gonna get funding for this.
Yeah.
That happened, and then I realized. So I pitched an idea for Pakistan's coffee community, but that's a huge task. Like,
Yeah.
it's too big. So I narrowed it down to Karachi.
Karachi, yeah.
Karachi has a lot of interesting things happening in the coffee market as well.
I was surprised at the scale. Like this guy had a full like roastery type situation.
Oh, yeah.
Where was that? Was it like in a house?
No. This was in Kurangi in a whole warehouse.
Oh, in a warehouse.
It's a huge facility.
It's a big. It seemed very big on the video.
Dude,
yeah.
he's
Was it
serious
fine
about
for
that.
you?
Mhm.
This is probably the biggest project that you personally have worked on,
Definitely.
right? And usse pehle to you were doing videos at home or maybe at cafes.
Yes.
So how do you go about planning it? Do you ask people for guidance? How does that process work?
Yeah, that was a huge worry that I had because I'd never done something like
Yeah.
documentary style. Funny enough, I wanted to first reach out to Irfan
Right.
and see if he could somehow help me out.
Of course.
I'm like, he probably gets like 50,000 messages every day of the same kind of shit. So I'm like, I won't bother.
Yeah.
So I ended up reaching out to a friend of mine from the University of Miami who was a film major.
Okay.
And he was also in coffee as well. He's working on a coffee farm in Dominica.
Oh.
He's much deeper than me. So he also worked on documentary films during his college career.
Okay.
So I reached out to him. We did a whole Zoom call for an hour and a half. Told me all the important things that I should like make sure to have. I had a whole checklist of things, like just make sure all of these things are nailed. I did 50% of that, but it happened. Yeah, thankfully it still went fine.
So and the equipment was your own?
So the funding that I got, that's what I got most of my equipment with.
Oh.
Yeah. So my shotgun mic, my tripod.
Right.
Like some of the more like. Yeah.
I feel like अगर आज हमारे पास shotgun mic होता, even though he asked me in the morning, I was like, नहीं यार क्या ज़रूरत है? It might have been good, but चलो.
The timing is so perfect.
On cue.
This is surreal.
We made him to do this. But and then you get in touch with the people in Karachi.
Yes.
कि मैं आ रहा हूँ.
Yes.
And they're like, who the hell are you?
One of them, yes.
Okay. The other one knew you?
उनसे मेरी पहले से बात हो गई थी. Exactly.
अच्छा,
so, given that Pakistan's coffee community is already very small, like especially with enthusiasts and people in the industry, it's very easy to reach out and like.
Right.
Because they think like, oh shit, this is another person.
Any publicity is
exactly.
Good.
And also like, it's very rare to come across someone. So who doesn't want to talk about, coffee and stuff with someone who's like-minded or whatever. So yeah, I reached out to 3 people in Karachi, but the third one, schedules weren't lining up.
Okay.
So wasn't able to get him in. So that was a huge problem as well, but improvised.
How long did the whole thing take for you to shoot, for example?
Not that long, surprisingly. I thought it would take me a week. Only took me 3 days.
3 days. Okay.
3 days, yeah.
Okay.
Even that I was slacking off on. So it could have been done in 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
was it like, were you stressed? Okay, how will I put all this together? Or was it like, what did that seem? Once you started, did it seem ke haan ho jayega?
I think it was starting to come along while in the process.
Right.
So yeah, while like we were talking about things, I was like just mentally making notes like, okay, it would be nice to juxtapose this with this part of the interview.
Yeah.
Smart
Important
words.
word, yeah. University, bro. They can't find that.
Liberal arts.
Where's our assistant?
Oh, Basma just ran off.
She left. Okay, I am now single again. Acha.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, again?
okay. I mean, before marriage, I was single.
True.
Yeah. Whoa.
Or is she just coming? Didn't she leave from here?
I guess she just left.
Damn. Okay.
Anyway, this is besides the point. Acha. So that video,
Yeah.
how long does it take you to put it together?
So that took a long while. During the editing process, I was very confused about because sound was an issue that I didn't realize till I started editing.
Yeah.
Because
Same
even
here.
though we realized
I think it's an issue, but I'm sure जब मैं edit करना शुरू करूँगा, so it'll
good
be
luck.
much better.
So sound. So I thought like, oh, shotgun mic है महंगा है, सब सही
खुद ही हो जाएगा
हाँ,
सब।
हो जाएगा, मुझे क्या करनी है,
Yeah.
पैसे दे दिए मैंने.
Yeah.
So when I started editing, because we were for Faisal from Nomad Coffee Series, the warehouse whole facility that he had, that's Nomad, and Faisal runs the whole thing. So when I recorded with him, there was such a big space. There was a lot of like
Echo.
Echo, exactly. So I did not, anticipate that at all. Very ignorant of like production and all that stuff. So that was a huge thing because during like my drafts that I was making and then sending out to people just to review, they're like, sound is shit. Please do something about it.
किसी का phone बज रहा है?
दोबारा से.
अच्छा, okay. इनसे क्या है आप? Can you stop? Can you leave? अच्छा. But so what would you have done? You would have had like lav mics, for example?
Yes. Then I was like, okay, I have a lav mic. Why don't I just use that? So I used that for the second interview. So yeah, it kind of balanced out. I kind of made it work. But during editing, I had a tough time putting everything together. So it took me 2 months to edit. But it was only in the last 2 weeks that I had like a very clear picture of the kind of narrative that I could make with everything I had, the content, because there is so much that I ended up leaving out. Like, Faisal from Nomad is the guy is like an encyclopedia when it comes to understanding how economics interacts with culture and how even coffee as a beverage interacts with societal norms and whatnot. He went into so much depth, which I wish I could have put into the video, because like it's things you never think about. And I wasn't able to, unfortunately. And then, so I had to cut out stuff that I felt like was my baby, and I didn't.
I mean, you always, the editing is the hardest, and also people say, okay, you should just, whatever you like the most, cut it out. Like, it's like,
that's a general rule.
People have said, okay, this is what Christopher Nolan says. I have no confirmation. I've never met Christopher Nolan. When I do, I'll ask him, sir, aapne
Mark Twain ne bhi kaha tha mere.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know. But okay, so then the video comes out. I saw that James left like a very positive comment.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. Do you think he was happy with the thing?
Oh yeah, I was. His assistant even emailed me. She was like, "We loved your video.
Okay.
We were so pleased that you could, show Karachi's booming coffee community and stuff."
How did regular people react? Like non-coffee aficionados?
Yeah, that's it. Thankfully, I got positive feedback from there as well.
Okay.
Everybody was just generally like, we don't know anything about coffee. We don't really care about coffee. But thankfully, a lot of them said that they were like fully engaged. And I was surprised that people sat through 20 minutes of it.
Because by YouTube standards, it's a long video.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like the average attention span doesn't go more than 3 minutes for YouTube videos.
Yep.
I hope you're still sticking around for this.
That is true.
Yeah. But people
you were surprised.
Very positive, absolutely. I was very pleased. It was a
so
response.
What happens next now in your YouTube journey? Are you like consciously thinking of like pushing that thing, or you're like, video ban gayi to ban gayi, I'll keep it running on the side?
Yeah, I after that I'm like, okay, I want to continue this because I feel like I've been launched into this momentum. I don't want to let it go. So after that I put out a few more things, then I slowed down because I was having my finals for my master's program.
Okay.
So that really did set me back a bit.
Right.
And just generally, it's just very hard to come up with ideas that are universal, but also like you can get into nitty gritty.
Yeah, and not like, because like you're doing some reviews, you could do cafe reviews, but that's also, people do this a lot.
Yes.
So usme wo tumhe shayad unique na ho itna.
Precisely. That's always like a thing like, oh, everybody else does it. Why should I also try and
but then
go into it?
You need to find some sort of balance, right? Because if the thing about the algorithm, etc., you have to keep putting stuff out. So is that something you want to do? Like, is that something you're concerned about? Okay, I should keep putting stuff out. Beshak beech mein thoda generic bhi aa jaye until I get to the idea, or are you like, जब मेरे पास idea आएगा मैं तभी करूँगा?
I think it's more the latter.
Sure.
Okay,
that's fair.
अभी कोई इतना unique idea नहीं है, तो I'm just gonna sit on it, like keep pondering till it comes.
So then, you said you want to start your own coffee bean company?
Just a coffee company, which is being done right now.
Yeah. So what do you need to know for that to happen?
Okay. There's a lot that I don't know as well, and we're still figuring it out. So it's called Bean Scene. It's in Pakistan. So it is solely for Pakistan right now, and we started off with the concept of having a marketplace for local roasters. Okay. So make it completely B2C, so that the end consumer, like the person who brews coffee at home, could get reliable quality beans.
Right. So you're doing that part where the roasters have prepared coffees and it has to get to a customer. So you're that person.
Exactly. So we're just offering like a platform for those roasters and for the consumers to buy it from. So it seems like a fairly simple idea to execute. No, it's unfortunately not. Because I'm funny enough, I'm also working on a whole business plan for Bean Scene for my dissertation in my master's program, and financials aren't looking very, very, like it's not a very sustainable business model.
Okay.
If you want to grow and be a scalable business.
What's the bottleneck? Is it like customers nahi hai ya costs zyada hain?
It's mostly OPEX, operating expenses, that is just being us down. And more than that, also, it's very hard to have a good top line because the roasters don't have huge margins already.
Right.
They're having a very hard time sustaining those, and like people aren't very knowledgeable in the Pakistani market as to why like these prices are so high for the specialty coffee that they're selling. They're like, oh, मैं तो डेविड ऑफ खरीदूंगा.
David off, yeah. हाँ, क्योंकि I was wondering, पाकिस्तान में एक ज़माने में there was an explosion of cafes. I think sometime in the 2000s when there was Costa and
Gloria Jeans.
Gloria Jeans is still there. Cafe Coffee Day tha. There were
Cafe Coffee Day bhi aaya?
Yeah.
No way.
And then it left.
Oh wow.
Because I think they all it was an economics wala scene tha. At least in Karachi there were lots and lots of cafes. And then most of the big chains left. Do we have Costa in Pakistan anymore?
नहीं, बंद हो गया. Nahid supermarket में होता था और फिर
So there is, I think, a price barrier in Pakistan where people's relationship with coffee is like espresso chale gaye, jo mil gaya, that's coffee.
Yeah.
And that's I don't want to think beyond this.
Yeah.
Which is that might be common the world over because everyone would be a coffee aficionado. But Pakistan, especially, even the cafes that have coffee aren't cheap. So if you're doing the specialty beans and the alag se special product jo aap khud banao ghar jaake, or you find like a cafe to sell through, that's going to be even more expensive. So how much of a concern is that for you?
It is.
Or is that the concern?
That is part of the concern, yes. I think it mostly has to do with just not knowing, just ignorance and not having just knowledge. So that's part of Bean Scene's mission as well, to help people understand where their coffee is coming from, why it's priced the way it is. Because even, Pakistan mein ye hota hai ki people have this thing like, oh, local supplier hai, he's gonna dupe us. Keh kuch raha hai, hame de kuch raha hai. But aisa, thankfully, specialty coffee, local coffee community mein aisa nahi hai, jahan tak maine dekha hai.
Okay.
होंगे ज़रूर, लेकिन whoever I've interacted with, they've been very transparent. They're very, very open about, they're open about where they're getting their stuff from, and they even put it down on their bag what region the coffee is coming from.
Right.
Everything else.
Right.
So I think it has to do with knowledge, like getting it out there, like why Davidoff is not really a standard for good coffee.
For the longest time, I thought Davidoff made cigarettes.
and perfume bhi,
they have coffee.
They do, yeah.
A lot of people buy Davidoff ki coffee.
They think it's like premium, amazing thing. That
unki branding thodi hai na, like it looks
luxurious,
but like more than Nescafe.
Yes, more definitely.
Yeah.
It's funny though, yeah.
Don't buy Davidoff. That's the message.
That's it. We're done.
Yeah. They sell cigarettes.
Yeah,
they do sell cigarettes.
They do sell cigarettes. Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
They're everywhere for some reason. They do perfumes, colognes.
Perfumes.
Yeah. As well.
Do you want to smell like a cigarette? But I don't know. But the case ho gaya Davidoff follow ka. But okay, so I was wondering before Bean Scene comes in.
Yes.
These guys doing the bean roasting and stuff, जिनको तुमने अपनी वीडियो में डाला था, they existed before.
Good, that's true.
Yeah. They existed before your video.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Who were they selling? How were they selling to people before you came along?
Okay, so the two of the people that I interviewed, one is Faisal from Nomad Coffee Studio, who is a roaster, and the other is a cafe owner. His name is Mush Panjwani. He's a huge guy, like everybody knows him in Karachi.
Okay.
Karachi ka food diary page bhi ek hai, group.
Do you know him? Mush
Panjwani puts up reviews every single day of something or another.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very.
Here if you're watching.
Please let us know. Very,
He's big.
He's big. Like he's made it on like
We'll see if they have any more sounds. Acha, so Mush Panjwani.
Yeah, Mush Panjwani. He's made it to the mainstream where he's been on like I think क्या कहते हैं हम न्यूज़ पे भी आया था like interviews हुए हैं
Okay,
उसके. Yeah, big figure.
Just for coffee.
Just for coffee, just for his chain.
Okay.
He has a franchise, and it's one of the most successful franchise models that I've seen
What is it?
locally executed. It's just a cafe, literally just a cafe.
Do you know the name?
Coffee Vagera.
Coffee Vagera. Have you heard of Coffee Vagera? Have you heard of Coffee Vagera?
Yeah, Coffee Vagera is big.
All right. Chalo.
Trust me.
Okay.
So he founded Coffee Vagera, and it has I think around 7-8 branches already in Karachi.
Okay.
एक बेरिया टाउन में भी है हर जगह.
Okay.
So Mush Panjwani, he came from Hong Kong, and he wanted to start.
Yes, I remember the Hong Kong person. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So he wanted to like just have a cafe that doesn't have food, like most cafes do in Karachi.
Yeah. Pakistan, everything's a restaurant.
Exactly.
Like I moved to Ireland and I saw that अच्छा इधर भी butter is because I thought it's a Pakistani thing.
Oh, they have Butter's chocolate cafe in Ireland.
It is Irish.
No freaking way. Get out. Wow.
And I was so stupid. I was like, यार बड़ी बात है मतलब Ireland में खोल दिया तुमने branch. But like they're from Ireland and it's only a cafe. And Karachi में तो sandwiches.
Full eggs Benedict and all that shit.
Nihari is next on the menu. I think we have a hard time like accepting a cafe that is just a cafe.
Yeah. We हम क्या करें? Best
Yeah,
coffee.
Espresso has a lot of food.
True.
I think they all have food.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like so hardwired in the Pakistani kind of mentality.
I think it's the chai relationship. खाने के
Really?
बाद चाय या खाने के बाद चाय. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying this.
I think makes sense, हाँ, क्योंकि मतलब almost everybody has like a लच्छेदार पराठा or like
Yeah.
ठंडा पराठा with chai.
Yeah.
जो
Maybe.
भी.
हमने कर लिया. Diagnose कर लिया हमने पाकिस्तान को.
You're corrupt.
But so he's opening coffee only places.
Yes.
Even
So,
though his name is Coffee Vagera.
Coffee वगैरह. Yes.
What is the Vagera?
अच्छा, here's the thing. Croissants भी आ जाते हैं.
Oh,
छोटी मोटी
right,
वो तो
right,
बनता
right.
है.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
ठीक है,
Like
ठीक
you need to have that to sustain your margins.
Yeah.
That's more of an economical decision, I think. So Mush started in Karachi in 2016, 2017.
Okay.
So very recent still. Not
Yeah.
even like back in 2010
Yeah.
or something. And I think his.
I'm gonna leave all this shit.
make a huge compilation
Okay.
of all the times that we're just having to face this.
Yeah.
So he started very recently, and his model is just focuses on coffee. It's a reliable place that's always clean. He has this huge thing for sustainability as well. So no plastic cups.
Okay.
वहाँ पे कूलर लगा हुआ है, फ्री पानी है.
Okay.
जाके ग्लास है, ग्लास आप भरो, पी लो, सही है, रख दो. रखना ज़रूरी है, ऐसे नहीं छोड़ो. So he has that, and he was one of the first people that I saw who was actively not promote, but like actively saying on social media that he's looking for transgender employees,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
great. Like
Yeah.
we
Fully
know how much
inclusive.
of a
Yeah.
absolutely how much of an issue they have with finding employment. So very, very like just great guy. Has this huge like wants things to be sustainable and ethical. So he started this focusing just on the coffee, having a reliable place with reliable Wi-Fi for people who want to come in and work,
Right.
which is very hard to find in Karachi
Yeah.
these days. Even if you go to Gloria Jeans and stuff.
Like there is Wi-Fi. Many places have Wi-Fi, but it's really bad. Like super slow.
Precisely. And like cleanliness as well. So he just has a cafe, right? Or Faisal has his own roasting facility. So Faisal was mainly doing B2C.
Okay.
Although roasters rely on B2B business to
Yeah.
sustain themselves.
Yeah.
But he's actually doing better B2C than B2B. And I would kind of class him in like the more higher end kind of roasters in the sense that he's also doing equipment that isn't cheap. By
What sort of like
brewing equipment, grinders, cups, mugs, all of that stuff.
Okay.
And all this stuff is expensive. Like one cup he gets, which is a Japanese brand called Kinto.
Okay.
Very good ceramic cups. 5,000 rupees.
He gets it for 5,000? Oh, he sells it?
No, he sells it for 5,000.
Okay. 5,000 rupees.
That's a lot for a cup,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Although, as we keep saying, Pakistan में लोगों के पास बहुत पैसे हैं. So maybe.
Chalta hai, exactly.
Okay.
Because
Okay. This makes sense then.
he's like, I was talking to him last, and he's like, I'm doing fine with just B2C business.
यहाँ हम अफसोस कर रहे हैं कि चारा यार इतने महंगे कब से लगे. He's like, oh, big
नहीं,
close out है.
नहीं, he's thriving.
Yeah. So does he sell his coffee to Mushk?
No. Mush gets his coffee from another roaster called Raz, which is actually the biggest roaster, I think, in Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of scale.
Right.
And they really have made a very like sustainable and
Where do these people, I don't know if you know, but yeah, espresso वगैरह, where would they get their coffee from?
Espresso has I think they have a contract with an Italian brand.
Okay.
Carrero, something like that.
Okay.
But they have more. I think Espresso tried a few things in the beginning, and it ended up ditching them. Like शुरू में espresso के पास खाना नहीं होता था, बिल्कुल शुरू में.
Okay.
It was just coffee, and they focused on coffee. And back then, people's mentality wasn't like very, people weren't very adventurous. They're like, oh, ये क्या है? Like
Yeah.
खट्टी सी coffee है, समझ नहीं आ
खट्टी सी coffee,
रहा.
yeah,
समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या है. So they just went back to like the generic
Pakistani
model.
model.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I didn't. They were always getting their coffee from abroad, I think.
Okay.
But now they have like this big Italian commercial brand called Carrero something.
Okay.
तो उनकी कॉफी वहाँ से आती है. It works for them, apparently, and like visibly.
I mean, चल
They're
I
doing
asked about
fine.
espresso because they're super like sustained
Yes.
इतने सालों से, and they have a couple branches,
Right.
and like they seem to be doing fine.
Yeah, I think anybody who wants to go into the cafe business in Pakistan would want to be like espresso.
Yeah.
Just because of how big, like, good it's been for them. They've really cracked the code.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think more so than anything, they're consistent.
Yeah.
So even if it's not the best coffee, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You guys do a good job.
There's this thing where in Pakistan
Yeah.
that Rizwan complains about a lot that I feel is true, where he's like, if you ask for an Americano, he'll give you 4 espresso shots. Do you think? I think that's true. That has to be true, right? I think that happened to us.
Really? Okay.
Okay. He cancel it because it's like so much coffee, and like he's. Also, we're non-confrontational.
Yeah.
And we're like, बेचारा waiter, हम इसको क्या कहें ये वो, and हम पी लेते हैं. Who cares?
अगले दिन diagnose होगी.
हाँ, जहर भी देते हैं. We're like, अच्छा,
Pancreatic
ठीक है.
tumor.
This is life. But yeah, that's a weird thing still. And this happened in several places. This has no connection to what you were saying. I just wanted to say.
No, please. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So how? So then he was doing better B2C. You said.
Yes. Yeah.
And then what changed?
So I mean, he's still doing fine B2C. I think B2B का जो है, I've been told like cafe वालों के बहुत नखरे होते हैं.
Okay.
Doing a B2B business is very hard.
Right.
There's so many like weird criteria that they have. They only work on their own terms, which is fine, but like their terms are ridiculous sometimes.
Okay.
Like I think generally जो market में है, उनमें arrogance इतना होता है कि like they're not really willing to learn anything else. They're like, हाँ मुझे जो पता है सही है.
Yeah, I
बस,
mean, obviously every Pakistani is an expert in everything.
Exactly.
Which is
Yeah,
fair.
I mean,
Yeah.
सही है. समझ आता है.
Yeah. So I mean, Faisal se ko seekh jaye. Okay, everyone's an expert. No, but I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because Faisal has been doing this since 2016. No, that's Mushk.
Mush, yes. I think Faisal has been doing this since 2017, so it's around the same time.
Around the same time. But if there's like established cafes, तो वो पिछौड़े होंगे तो be like, bro.
Exactly.
Do you know
हमें से
where-
कहोगे?
Yeah, I'm Xander's. I don't know. Maybe Xander's is nice.
I'm not sure right now if Faisal is working with any cafes or if he has any B2B clients.
Right.
But from what I know, B2C चल रहा है. B2B का मुझे कुछ नहीं पता.
Okay.
Hopefully down the line देखते हैं.
Is Faisal on Bean Scene?
He is going to be on Bean Scene.
Faisal will
Absolutely.
be on.
Bean Scene अभी तक launch नहीं हुआ.
Okay.
Because we're still trying to figure out the back end right now. Still trying
banking.
to. Huh?
The banking.
Back end.
Back end.
Banking be in the sense of financial.
Sorry, I have headphones on and they aren't connected.
Actually,
to
yeah,
anything.
I'm still surprised you can.
Yeah. I don't know. Am I speaking too loud? I feel like
Perfectly fine.
okay.
Amazing. Thank you.
What was I saying? Banking. क्योंकि we did like some episodes and like Pakistan ka banking system is not great. This is a theme that keeps coming up. But okay, so when do you hope to launch Bean Scene? Do you have a time frame?
Amazing question.
Jab
So
ho gaya
right
to-
now we're in the process of registering our business like officially. getting like pura sales tax and everything, getting our tax number and stuff. So this is a huge learning curve for us as well. So I have two other partners, Mansoor and Fez, who are my chuddy buddies. So like we've been friends since the first grade, and they kind of both got into coffee, like along with me. Yeah. So we all three of us are like, okay, we're gonna start from scratch. We're gonna figure everything out ourselves. Sure, we'll ask for help where we needed it, but ideally we don't want anyone else's kind of, like it'll be a good experience for us. So yeah, it's been tough in the sense that like, and also you realize like how weird, like not bureaucracy, but like just government offices are and stuff with work with
what, like registering a business?
Just registering, like it's just weird. Like, dude, just make it. Why don't you want to make it easy? Like,
no, they don't. They actually consciously do not want it.
No, I think they want to bring you to that point where it's like, "Acha, bhai, mere paise le lo andar."
Is it? What is it? Fair. It's getting loud.
All of a sudden, it just
But when does your master's end?
October.
So this is like the end now.
This is the end.
Uske baad, what is like the maximum hope, dream plan of the next step?
So the next step is, okay, bean scene launch karna hai puri tarah fully in the next 2 months. Inshallah. And then so I have a family business as well that I'm working in. So usme I'll be a lot more involved, which I'm a bit worried about because I don't know how I'm going to balance that with bean scene, right? And then also one of my other partners, Fez, he is set on starting a cafe very soon.
Karachi?
Yes, Karachi. Okay. And he's like, I want you to be in it, but if you can't even, I'm going to start it and then you can come in later on. Okay. So that's another thing that I ideally want to work on, inshallah.
Plus your YouTube stuff.
Plus my YouTube stuff. And I don't know, I'll somehow try and like find a balance where I can mix all of those things and somehow just make some sort of content out of it. I don't know.
I mean, it's good that there's a plan.
Yeah.
Because you'll find out when it happens, and maybe even when you get there, like you'll manage somehow, once it starts. But okay, the cafe thing I think seems like a natural progression of this train of thought.
Yeah. It's I mean, I think Karachi is headed that way, where the idea of good coffee is like interesting to people, and they want to try it.
Okay, I mean, I suppose the first step would be for cafe culture to be established.
Exactly.
Exactly. Now people will be interested in like, what's better?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And is your friend's cafe hypothetically going to be no food?
It's going to be very limited food, I think. That's kind of the plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now it's very much in the idea phase as well.
Okay.
Because he even has a full-time gig, and like all three of us have full-time things that we're focusing on.
Yeah.
So this is like a passion project that we want to make.
Okay. All right. So what was the stuff? Now, picture this: we're at the end of our whole conversation in Origins. Or सारी हमने बातें कर ली हैं Pakistan का scene, this scene, that scene. I think there was something about pricing, like a coffee, rich person's game, and then I don't know. So what were those things?
So it wasn't your fault at all. I just digressed completely from the question and just went in my own direction.
Sure, it's your fault. I'm happy.
So basically, the thing was that it's kind of like it's a weird dilemma where we don't know how to approach it in the coffee industry and the market in Pakistan, especially because in Pakistan, coffee has been associated so heavily with an elite class, and it's only the pricing is such that it is restricted to only that elite class. So it has become a very elitist product. You can say Nescafe or wo sab aa gaye. There's like more accessible ways of making coffee. But I think when we think in the long run for specialty coffee or much higher grade coffee, it's really a difficult problem to solve because it's one of those products that you don't want to restrict it to a certain class of people. You obviously want it to be something that everybody drinks, but at the same time, it's close to impossible to make any sort of profit, I guess. But now, then again, I think there is this one tweet that you mentioned me in the Gloria Jeans Valley. There was like कुछ 2000 का bill बना था.
Yeah.
Ice artists के लिए. And now that, so when it comes to that kind of, like Gloria Jeans is already, it's huge. It has like enough money in the bank. Like they can afford to still, bring down prices, I think.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure what their inner workings are, but as far as commercial grade coffee goes, you definitely can bring it a bit lower and make things work. But yeah, I mean, those prices work in Pakistan because there's people with a lot of money in Pakistan who are willing to pay for it as well, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just unfortunate that, it's you're not.
But like
getting,
you don't find a lot to disagree with the sentiment कि coffee में पैसों का scene है. मतलब it's not as accessible as like good coffee is not as accessible as like decent chai, for example. I found out not too long ago that a majority of Pakistan ki chai is imported because हमारे यहाँ we just don't have the climate to grow it. I think it needs like a slightly warmer, more tropical climate. Perhaps all of this could be wrong, but but I did see that chai imports were like a big portion of Pakistan ke kharche. Okay, so yeah, okay, coffee is expensive. We're not sure how to fix it as yet,
Yeah.
but we're working on it. The community is working on it. Do you have any recommendations? अगर आप पाकिस्तान में रहते हो, most of our audience is in Pakistan. Wherever you're familiar with in Pakistan, do you have any recommendations for places you've been to jahan coffee munasib thi? Price not being an issue, but like if you should go and you know that the place is like sourcing ethical तरीके से
Okay.
corporation, what would those recommendations be?
I definitely think तो Karachi में coffee वगैरह के नाम से एक है, if you want to drink like well priced, like nicely priced coffee that isn't bad, like it's pretty decent coffee.
Mm-hmm.
The coffee वगैरह, it's a big chain in Karachi now, local chain है. So that does pretty good. Like उनकी Americano I think 450 की होती है, उससे भी कम होती है. Yeah, and it's great coffee. Like you can't go wrong with it. Or so do you mean like coffee shops or just
Yeah, like cafes.
beans?
Yeah.
Okay, cafes. Kohi Coffee's ek hai that was up and coming in Karachi, but like recently I've seen their quality go down, and a lot of people have been complaining about it.
Okay.
I think there's problems in consistency on the back end, like their bar. So try Kohi coffees in Karachi if you can, but expect some things to go wrong, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
But that's a good choice among others. What else? Lahore में एक है artisan roasters. Artisan roasters के नाम से या फिर artisan coffee, something like that.
Okay.
They do really good coffee. Like the guy who opened that up, I believe he was a barista in Dubai or somewhere in the UAE for a while, and then he came back and started just partnering up with someone. So they know what they're doing.
Anything else?
Yeah, okay, so one more thing. So you were talking about like the process of making that Karachi coffee video thing that I did on YouTube, like the bigger project that I had.
Yeah.
I think a few people that I forgot to mention who had a huge hand in making it happen and helping me out throughout the whole process. Three of my really close friends, Heather and Fez. Fez का तो ड्रोन मैंने fully exploit किया. उसे हर जगह में लेके जाता था कि भाई चलो सदर चलो shot लेने, CView के shots लेने and all that. So Fez was extremely accommodating. उसने काफी help की. Mansoor literally helped me in like with the sound and everything.
Did Fez go
even
to
the sound. No, Fez went to Lums.
Okay. There is a Fez who is a Karachi photographer from Zabist. I thought maybe. Okay.
No, Fez, yeah. So Fez, Mansoor, Heather, and also Ali Shamim, our mutual, also helped out quite a bit in the process. Like editing me, I was extremely confused, like with how I should piece together certain stuff, like how I should narrate the story, and I had a constant back and forth with Ali Shamim over how to go about it. like, yeah, he was very, very helpful. In
Ali Shamim is like a big part of why this happened. Well, not a big part. He's the sole reason why this happened.
Precisely, he's the origin of
Yeah. Ali Shamim का बड़ा impact है इस साल on all us Clubhouse users. ये पिछले 3-4 महीनों में ना his enthusiasm. Yeah, but चलो, okay.
Yeah, great lad. So yeah, I think that's all I had to cover on my end. So
ठीक है. चलो फिर we'll let you go then, and now we shall jump back into the video that we recorded, जो कि अब खत्म हो रही होगी. So okay. I think they told us to leave. Okay, and that's the end of the call. Where can people find you? On your Instagram?
Yeah, on my Instagram, Zarak Yusufzai, Yusuf with you, not O.
Don't bother.
Oh, okay, links over there. Sorry, I forgot that this.
Yeah. I think you forgot your own name at that.
We're on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so he has an Instagram and he has a YouTube, and
Yes.
I'll put the links. And if this works, hopefully we can salvage something out of this. But yeah, man, thanks for making the time.
thank you so much.
And अगर नहीं हुआ तो we'll do all of this. I'll make a list.
I'd be more than happy to.
Questions.
Absolutely, let's do it.
ठीक है. TPR pod Malabar. I hope this works. I make no apologies for the sound, limitation, nothing. And yeah, okay.
All right.
Bye.